everyone, my name is Valerie Fischer and I help new online business owners increase revenue using brain science selling. This video is part of the Love the Leap series of Miss Ginger Arboleda. So hello everybody, hi. Okay, so what am I going to share with you today? I know that this video or this video series is part of Ginger's efforts to help inspire new business owners, and specifically female ones. So I would like to share something that has really helped my business first, to start last year and really thrive. And that one thing is having a deep and clear understanding of your target market. They call it different names. They call it a niche, your customer avatar, your target market, your ideal client. There's so many names that we can use to call it. But it's really your customer, your buyer, your prospect. You have to really understand who they are, what they do. Aside from the demographics, the psychographics, what do they feel? What pains do they have? What keeps them up at night? And what do they dream about? How do they see themselves 5-10 years into the future? Why is this important? Why is knowing and understanding them? Because when you know and understand your customer avatar, your ideal client, you can create words that are specifically for them. And when it comes to brain science selling, I actually have a framework that I use, and it's using this framework. When you know your ideal client, you can use this framework. It's called PRIME. So P stands for priming. When you know your ideal client, then you know how to prime them. You know how to excite them because you know what they look forward to. You know what they get excited about. So it's easier to prime them. That's part of really preparing their brains to accepting your message and to eventually trusting you and buying from you. So that's one. The second one is R for rapport. It stands for rapport. People like people who are like them. So when you know your ideal client, when you know your customer avatar, the words that they use, you also use those words to target them. And because those are their words, it will be easier for them to relate to you because you are like them and they like you when you are like them. It's easier to trust. It's easier to create a relationship. It's easier to create a bond, a brand that they will trust. So that's number 2. That's R. Number 3 is intent. When you know your ideal client, you also have to have a clear intention whenever you're going to meet with them. So say, for example, you're meeting your ideal client, you have to set an intention. What do I want with this person for today? During a webinar, for example, do I want just to get them as leads? Do I want to close these sales right this minute? Because when you know that, then when you have a clear intention and then you match it with knowing your ideal client, clarity, it's easier to target. It's easier to target. It's not a moving target, and your target is clear. It's defined. Because if it's fuzzy, if you don't know it, if it's not clear, it's harder. It's a lot harder to target. M stands for 2 things, which are Meta and Meltdown. Meta and Meltdown are language patterns. In the same way as rapport, because rapport can also apply to physiology. So the way that they move, the way that they use their hands, the way that they stand, you can use that. Meta and Meltdown are specific for words. So these are for your copy. These are for your script when you have webinars. This is for your blog. Meta, we have mental shortcuts. People have mental shortcuts. So the sentences we form are actually unconscious productions. Sometimes we don't even think about it because it's programmed. So that's what NLP teaches us, neuro-linguistic programming. We delete, we generalize, and then we distort. That's part of the things that we study in NLP. So if you know them, you can have some assumptions, and then based on these data, this reality that they generalize, they delete, they distort, and you will be able to handle their objections easier. One example of a generalization is your client may say it's expensive. It's expensive is a generalization. So how do you do that? We call it chunking down. You really try to understand what is expensive. Who says it is expensive? What is expensive to you? When you know that, when they say that, for example, and it's a meta language pattern, then you can create value instead of an actual amount for your products or your services. You can play on the value proposition, on the value more than the price. Okay, so that's for meta. That's handling objections. Milton, on the other hand, is the hypnotic language. So this is using big words like humanity, unity, trust, courage, things like that. So this is what you use when you are on Facebook Lives, when you are in webinars, when you are asked to speak, when you're asked to present, product knowledge seminars. You use the hypnotic language when you talk to them, and this is easier. There's so many words, power words that you can use, but you can pick and choose again depending on your client, your ideal client, once you know and really understand them. The last letter in the prime framework stands for emotions. Emotions, 95% of the time we buy based on emotions, and then we justify with logic. So most of our decisions really are made in the limbic brain, or the limbic system, the emotional side of the brain. Now, knowing that, again, what are the emotions that you can target with these clients? Their pains, their problems, what keeps them up at night, what breaks their heart, how do they see themselves, how does their best self look like, and then target that. In one of my courses, it's called NLP and copywriting. I have the 7 deadly sins. We sin because we desire. And what are these desires? Find out what your client's desires are. Who is this ideal client? What their desires are, and then target them. Okay, so if there's one thing that I would like to share, really, is have a deep and clear understanding of your ideal client. And for everybody's information, the Brain Science Selling is actually a combination of my neuro-linguistic programming practitioner certification. I combined that, I bundled that with my 20 years in corporate advertising and marketing, and then also my experience when I first had my first business, which is Pinasadya, an e-commerce site, and that's where I learned really how to sell in the digital space. So I combined all of those and came up with Brain Science Selling. So that's it. I hope that you learned something from me today, and that I know that this series of videos is going to be great. It will have many tips and advice from different power women, and I'm very, very honored and grateful to be part of this campaign. So thank you again, everyone, and have a good day.